Comic fam, this video is sponsored by Key Collector Comics, the best comic book collecting app that exists on the internet. You gotta download it. Go to where you download apps and download it. And then use the code TOM101 to get a free week subscription. Anyways, enjoy this interview I did with Brian Pulido from Coffin Comics, creator of Lady Death. There's a giveaway at the very end of this video that you're gonna wanna stay tuned for. Brian.
Comic Tom, what up, yo?
Yeah, I used to go to conventions with my dad, moving lawn boxes, and I used to sell your stuff as a kid.
Excellent.
Like 13, 14 years old.
That is the great gateway to our material.
You know, it really was. And I also learned to understand and respect variants early on because of that. You were one of the early adopters, the pioneer of the variant comic. Is it true that you started the blank sketch variant?
Yeah, the truth is there's many things I started, but one of them was the blank sketch variant. And so this is how it went down. I am a board member of Hero Initiative, which is a veteran comic book charity.
Absolutely.
In my Presidente, Jim McLaughlin came to me and he basically said, dude, we need something for this year. But it occurred to me that if we could print a limited run book on that same Strathmore bond that artists draw on, and maybe put our trade dress around it, if we could then cut a deal with a major publisher and feature their one character and just have the top artists of the field draw it, that it would be a real boon to us. And we could auction those covers. So that's exactly what we did. We presented that idea to Jim, then he presented it to Dan Buckley of Marvel. They signed off and agreed upon it. And then our team, led by Jim, went out and asked a who's who to do covers. So among the many covers we got was Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane did his first blank on that project. So I must admit that I'm even credited as the dad, co-dad of the blank. Dan Buckley got in on that one too. But yes, it's true.
Wow.
So yeah, so we did it. And look, I understand that kind of stuff's not proprietary, so it would be likely to be copied. I was sort of hoping we'd have a little more time. But as soon as people saw, I think, one or two cycles of that, it just started popping all over the place.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome. I was hoping that was true.
It's true, and some wild other ones too. Probably really early adopter of Chromium. Let's see, I did flocked covers, which would be velvet covers, and sometimes I forget all this stuff, but yeah.
You're a fan of post-apocalyptic stuff. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big PA guy since the beginning. I think the first movie I saw, my mom took me to see Night of the Living Dead at the drive-in. And look, I understand it's zombie fiction, but truly it's apocalyptic. And as maybe a 7 or 8 year old kid, it really had an impact. And I just gravitated towards all those end of the world scenarios or life after the end. So yes, I've been a reader of that type of fiction, and I love it in comics, etc. Yes.
All right, you love it in comics. I was hoping.
I love it in comics. I love it in fiction.
I was hoping. I brought you a gift.
What?
I was hoping you can tell me a little bit about this.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. So what Comic Tom is showing is Kamandi. So Kamandi has a deep personal meaning for me. I first discovered Kamandi on number 19 when it came out in the stands. And that's an image of Kamandi walking away from this Chicagoland amusement park. So this particular book, Kamandi, created, written, and drawn by Jack Kirby. Kirby was inspired by Planet of the Apes, this premise of the animals talking. And this storyline is about the quest of this kid who came from a place called Kamandi and his adventures. And he had lived in this bunker for most of his childhood. But when his grandfather was killed by talking wolves, he ventured out into the world. And the world he discovered was remade. There was this thing called some sort of toxin that got into the water that allowed the animals to think. And it actually caused human beings to regress. It's a fun and wonderful and sad story about the last kid on Earth and his adventures with guys like Ben Boxer, his girlfriend Flower, and this particular storyline, there's a guy named Mr. Sacker who's a snake, and he oversees what might have once been a racehorse track, but is now a racetrack filled with grasshoppers. In this particular grasshopper, Kamandi pilots, so to speak, and his name is Click Clack. So you asked.
Giant grasshopper.
Giant grasshopper. So it's giant grasshopper races that animals bet on. Yeah, this comic's insane. And I know there's other fellow comic professionals who adore it, like Kevin Eastman, Eric Larson. So yeah, I love this book. It has a lot of meaning for me. I actually, next to my bed, I have a table, and I have some just books that I need to like have nearby, and my Kamandi run is there. Garth Ennis's Punisher, The End. I just love rereading it. I don't know, because that's sort of PA, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah, I get a jazz out of those. So yeah, thank you for showing that wonderful book, Kamandi. Yeah. If you haven't read Kamandi, folks, do yourself a favor.
Ooh, okay, so I'm a huge horror fan.
Me too.
Yeah, so when I'm not talking comic books, I'm talking horror movies and everything.
Right. Me too.
You've written Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
You did the comic book for Jason X.
I did. Yeah, I like Jason X.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
That's a great murder scene in there.
I think so. The head.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, the freeze-dried head. It's incredible.
What makes a good horror comic book? And I know there's more because you've done over 300 titles.
What makes a good horror comic? I think generally, for whatever reason, most of the first motion pictures always get it right, and it's so difficult to do sequels. So in my case, the first thing I do is go back to the source and just let folks know we're going to operate from that source if we're allowed. When I got a chance to do Child's Play, I think we were sequeling Bride of Chucky, and that was perfectly fine by me. That had a fun tone. So I was trying to espouse that tone. Absolutely. So I just mainly try to stay true. What I try to do is kind of look at what is in the DNA of that story that got people going, find a way to replicate it in a manner that people would not expect. I like the characters to talk the way people do expect them to talk and behave the way they expect them to behave. Horror in particular has a lot of tropes and elements of the genre that people want to see, or they want to see twisted in a fresh way. You know, you have some of the obvious ones, the final girl, but then you can go super deep track. One of the great ones is somehow to have a character named Mother who is not motherly, who is the opposite, or to evoke the name of God or Jesus and not have it answered, or have it answered in a way that gives no hope. Example, 30 Days of Night, girl screaming, God, God, and he gets in her face, the vampire, and says, there is no God.
You just dropped 30 Days of Night?
Yes.
And I don't care. I got to show you.
Right on, what do you got from Ben Templesmith? Yeah, and Steve Niles, too.
I picked this up at the con.
Oh, sweet.
Look at that.
Wow, so this is super cool. Looks like a nice, super dope, man. Look at it. Nice, big 30 Days of Night. Obviously, it really changed the game for horror. Big up to Steve, Niles, and to Ben. That particular combination of guys. Funny side story. So I'm just doing what I'm doing in the Chaos Comics era, and I think I got a blind submission from Steve Niles.
Oh, wow.
And he might have been doing Medieval Spawn. Sometimes you get in your world. But anyway, so I declined the submission.
No kidding.
And years later, Steve was a good sport. We were in a horror panel together, and he kind of called me on it. And I laughed because, no matter how much you guess or try, sometimes you just don't get it right. So, obviously Steve Niles is a total G. And 30 Days of Night is wonderful. I mean, Night of the Living Dead is my favorite movie. And by Steve's own admission, this is Night of the Living Dead with vampires. So, yeah, a great book. And good for you. That's a rad one.
Okay, so we just found out Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is coming.
I'm up for that.
You're up for that? Well, I'm hoping that Brother Voodoo makes an appearance.
Yes.
And my favorite team-up of the occult is the Supernaturals.
Right on, man. Comic Tom, you got class.
I know it. It's underrated.
Thank you. So, The Supernaturals was a book that I put together at Marvel's behest. They actually got in touch with me in our studio at the time, Chaos Comics, like they were doing with the Heroes Reborn books and the Marvel Knights book. And they said, what do you want to do? They were afraid they were going to get too violent or crazy, but I assured them, and obviously they would get editorial control, but I just wanted to do a love letter to all Marvel Supernatural stuff. So our story, Supernaturals, our arch villain was Jack-o'-lantern, and we put together a group of people to oppose his nefarious deeds, which included reactivating all the giant monsters of the Atlas and Timely era. Satana, Brother Voodoo, who
Werewolf
I recast.
by Night.
Right, exactly. Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider. I recast Brother Voodoo as a hip-hop entrepreneur. And although it sounds kind of corny, it kind of makes sense. I mean, you got your Dr. Dre's, your Jay-Z's. I mean, these are captains of industry. And I wanted to make Brother Voodoo far more empowered, as if, among his myriad of skills he was just top of the game business guy.
This is a 4-issue series. There is a number 0. All affordable, highly recommend it.
Yeah, Greg Capullo, premium cover, Jim Ballant, regular covers. A lot of fun. Great to do, really fun. It'd be fun if they put it in a trade sometime.
So, the variant market, sometimes looked at as a bad word.
Yes.
Bigger publishers are putting out so much.
I agree.
Collectors are getting frustrated, but
Yes.
not your fans. Your fans buy them aggressively. They resell them, and then they buy more, and they think, how do I even get these? But it's really simple. They just have to follow your newsletter.
That's right.
How can they do it?
It's real easy to follow the Coffin Comics newsletter. Right now, go to ladeathuniverse.com. In the upper right, sign up to our newsletter, or consider signing up for our text. You know, we live in this immediate world, so
You said 8 weeks.
Oh, we'll close a kick, and we'll begin the ship within 8. That's the game for us every time. Sometimes sooner, never later so far.
See, and that's how you do it. You just have to be checking your text messages, checking your email, so you can be up on it. Because when Brian drops something, you got to go for it.
Well, look, for example, we have an upcoming Kickstarter on August 7th. Ultimate tier artist is Mark Brooks.
Oh.
Now, this is what we're doing. We all know Mark Brooks. His covers have print runs of 30, 40, 50,000. This time, the print run is going to be 88. And then we're retiring the image as a cover for all time. We don't go back to the well.
You're not going back to you're not going to print more after it sells out?
Never. No
Never.
matter what. I don't care if people back the truck up. It's not happening.
You hear that?
Yes, I mean, it'll be reprinted perhaps as a card or a print, but never a comic book cover again. It's just come from an authentic place of what do I think would be authentically collectible, and I'm interested in small batch, variant editions that have actual authentic value.
Okay.
I do not see, even on Batman, 100 variants that have a print run of 5,000. I know the market can't sustain that. It'll lead to collapse. It's not authentically rare. They'll get it probably eventually, but it's not rare.
I appreciate you respecting the collector's market.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you so much. Geek responsibly.
Enough
Said. Thanks so much for watching this video. Sal Felix, you won the giveaway from the Chris Claremont interview I did. Here's a copy of X-Men 176, and it happens to be signed by Chris. Didn't know I had that. We also have a copy of Lady Death Damnation Game, issue number 1. This is a Hulk 340 homage, and it's fantastic. Limited to 200. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about all this San Diego Comic-Con news, and I'll enter you to win this exclusive comic, courtesy of the Coffin Comics team and Brian Pulido. Thanks, guys.